And I used to pass the sevenplex every single day. And I'm just like, man, it would be nice to own that. Passing every morning, stop, kind of just walk around the place, looked it up on the tax assessment, kind of just trying to get some information. Lo and behold, the wholesaler that sold me my single family house is actually the guy that owns this. So kind of, it's nice that I know him personally. So he literally sent me over all his Excel sheets, what the tenants are paying, all their information, all that stuff. So right now, me and my partner are analyzing that deal, putting some numbers to it, and I think it's a go. I actually just got the purchase agreement sent over to me last night via email.
Welcome to the House Hacking Success Podcast, where you'll learn the path to free rent and financial freedom through real estate. Featuring your hosts, Brad Labrie and Drew Klingler.
Hey everyone, real quick before we start the show, Brad wrote an amazing ebook that will teach you everything you need to know about house hacking and living rent-free. To get a free copy, text Househack, all one word, to 22828. That's Househack, all one word, to 22828 to get your free copy.
Cool, man. Welcome to the show, Shaye. We're glad you're here.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. So hopefully I can get some knowledge spread over to young and even seasoned investors, and they can apply that to their portfolio as well.
Yeah, man. We're super intrigued to get into your story. I mean, you're only 23 years old and you've done so much. And you just graduated from Illinois State, correct? What was your major and what field are you in?
Yeah, so I just graduated from Illinois State last December, construction management major. Now I'm in the industry of construction, commercial, general contractor, and kind of just going through that. Project manager for one project engineer for other two projects. And yeah, it's a nice little major that I graduated in. Trying to apply that to my real estate. I never knew I wanted to be in real estate. Back in the day when I was trying to search for majors and all that, I came across construction management, driving on the road, seeing all the orange cones. I thought that would be a sweet little gig to have. And, now I can apply it to the real estate industry. So it's pretty nice.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
That's really cool. Go ahead.
Now, you just bought your first house hack, correct? In March at 22. Tell us a little about like getting into real estate, what that deal was like and finding it.
Yeah. So, I mean, before I graduated, I set a goal that 3 months after graduation, I wanted to lock up that first deal. So I was super proactive on realtor.com, Craigslist, all that, trying to find all the deals I could. And as everyone knows in real estate, it's a time game. You can't rush into it. You really got to sit back, analyze multiple deals. You can't just jump into that first one or the fifth one. You really got to sit, have patience in this game. So that's what I did. Like I said, 3 months out of graduation, I wanted to lock up that first deal. So I was on realtor.com every single night before bed, reading a book, hopping on my phone after that, and just searching for deals. And I found this duplex that popped up exactly where I lived, about 3 blocks over. It was a duplex that was posted for about 16 hours. And I called up my realtor and I said, hey, I want to get a showing set up for tomorrow. We went over there. One side was vacant. The other one already had a tenant in it. So we walked through. I mean, I loved everything I saw in there. And we signed a purchase agreement. I kind of negotiated with the seller. He wasn't liking the terms that I was liking. He would not budge whatsoever. But we kind of signed a purchase agreement the next day. And I highly recommend doing that. If you guys find a deal in a competitive market, make sure you get a purchase agreement signed. Whether, you walk through it, you want to get that deal locked up so you have the first opportunity to get that house. If you walk through, within that purchase agreement, you can have subject to financing, subject to inspections. You can always get out of that. You might lose your earnest money if you put that down, but I highly suggest getting a purchase agreement signed ASAP, because if you're in a competitive market and you don't get that done, that deal will be gone the next day. So it was kind of nice locking that deal up within the first 16 hours that it was on realtor.com.
That's a great point. That's a great point because I'm an agent, and the thing I try to relate to my clients is that exact fact. Like, get a purchase agreement, and then we can figure things out. You got contingencies, like you said, financing. But a lot of times, when you do inspections and things, you find the things you don't want, you can back out or you can renegotiate. But so many people are apprehensive to pull the trigger and make an offer.
Yeah, exactly. And, being new in the game, or, you haven't bought your first property, you're nervous about that. You don't want to get locked up in a deal that you don't know all the facts behind. You're scared to get locked up and all that, which is understandable. But if you want to be in this game, you just kind of got to get your feet in the water and test it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very cool. Did you have your financing all prepared when you signed that purchase agreement?
I did. So between those 3 months, I got my realtor set up. I got my lender set up. For this property, I had to go through 3 different lenders. My first lender, I actually met him through Bigger Pockets. He was up in Chicago, about 3 hours from me. And he was a big help, kind of pointed me to different financing options and all that. And when it came time to close, I had my pre-approval already written up so I could get that purchase agreement signed. But I mean, when we went to go do the lending, he was saying I needed like $18,000 in my bank account. He wanted to see 6 months of reserves and a whole bunch of other things. And I'm just like, man, I don't have that capital right now. So I had to go shop for other lenders, which I highly suggest because you can get lower interest rates, better deals.
Mhm.
So it took me 3 different lenders to lock up this first deal. On that third lender, I got a low interest rate compared to the other two, and I only needed like 5,000, I think $6,000 in my bank account compared to the first lender that wanted 18K. So that was a big thing right there. The loan,
Mm-hmm.
I actually got an in-house loan through a bank for only 3% down, and it included no PMI. So that was a sweet little gig there.
So was that like a small town bank or a credit union or something like that?
Yeah. So I went through for the house. My realtor is through Rule and Rule, and they have their own little in-house mortgage company called Rule Mortgage, who also goes through a small little bank in town. And yeah, they have that in-house loan for 3%. Man, I mean that's better than FHA. Granted
Yeah,
by half
Yeah,
percent,
right.
but still,
And no
with
PMI.
exactly with FHA, you pay that PMI, and it was just nice to find that in-house loan for only 3% down and no PMI.
that's a great thing that people can look into is small town banks and credit unions because a lot of times they can get you deals that almost no one else can, especially for houses that need a little bit of work or something like that. Because I went through a very similar situation when I was younger, and where a credit union was able to do it, no other bank would touch it. So
Yeah, they can definitely pull a lot more strings than your higher up banks, um, due to company policies and the other factors that play into that.
absolutely, absolutely. So you said tenants were already in there, correct? When you bought that place?
One side was vacant, which was the side that I moved into, and the other
Okay.
side already had a 3-year tenant, and they've been awesome. They pay on the first every month, or they even pay like on the 25th before it's even due, which is sweet little gig there too. Haven't had an issue with them. Um, the property when I walked through, I mean, it was clean, looked nice. Probably in the future when they move out, though, you can expect a 3-4 year tenant. You're probably going to have to go in, repaint, do carpet, but for the most part,
Mhm.
everything was nice. So it was nice little turnout. I don't know if you want to consider that a turnkey or not. I've heard a lot of talks of, a turnkey is where the property is basically, refurnished or renovated, and then you have the tenants in place already. Um, yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Now you just purchased your second deal, and I know you used a little bit of a unique financing situation. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've been going since I graduated. I found a real estate meetup here in the Quad Cities. I started going to that, for connections and leads and all that stuff. And I actually linked up with 3 different wholesalers there. And I highly suggest that too. Go to real estate meetups, man. You meet so many different people in this market that have different goals or different properties that they're seeking and all that. But yeah, so I linked up with 3 different wholesalers and had them start emailing me properties as they popped up. And I was going through realtor.com, and I found this duplex that was for like 20K, needed a lot of work. So I called up that wholesaler and kind of had him run down some stuff. And he was like, hey, man, I actually just got this property, cheaper than that, and it's rent ready. And I was like, oh, awesome, let's go take a look at it. So the next day, single family home, we go over there, take a look at it, rent ready, just needed new carpet, new paint, and it was good to go. Appliances were already lined up. So walked through there, signed the purchase agreement the next day, and went from there.
That's awesome.
That's great. So what's the process like working with a wholesaler versus, say, if you're working with a realtor or any other process, really?
I guess it varies on your wholesaler, whether you have a good connection with them. I have people that call me up, shoot me a text, like, "Hey man, I got this deal. I think this is." They know my criteria, what the properties that I'm looking for, as a realtor does too, if you get that set up. But yeah, they shoot off emails and they kind of have a breakdown. Certain wholesalers, they vary, do different things. But with the wholesaler that I have, he kind of breaks down the numbers for me, which is awesome. Has photos all throughout the email. Certain wholesalers, they also had videos of them walking through the property. So you don't have to waste your time going to the house unless you
Oh,
do
that's
want
cool.
to unless you want to get that, feel walking through the house and, is this going to be a good buy or not? But, wholesalers, a lot of them walk through now with their cameras and record the whole house. So it's nice to save time for you.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Get a virtual tour out of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Save your time. That way, they're walking through and they kind of point out some stuff and it's like, oh yeah, galvanized pipes, electrical needs updating. Yeah, I'm going to have to walk away on that one.
that's awesome. Are those two deals in the same market or?
Yeah. They're about, Quad Cities is made up of 4 different cities. This is kind of an outskirt town, I would
Okay.
say. But yeah, I would say, yeah, in the same market.
Okay. Now, what is the exit strategy for that place?
For this one, it's a smaller house, 550 square foot, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. So it's also set up a little unique. So it would definitely take a different style tenant for this one. Um, I definitely want to keep it as a buy and hold, because I got it pretty cheap. I don't want to see it go. And my strategy is buy and hold, buy and hold. I want to do a little wholesaling and I also want to do a little fix and flip here. But as far as this house, I want to do a rent to own contract. I don't want to get into that yet. I have a tenant in place over there right now, paying monthly. We just got a month-to-month lease going, but I really want to educate myself on the rent-to-own leasing. I see that going up a lot in my market right now, and I've talked to a lot of people, and they said that's probably where the industry is heading. So right now, I'm educating myself on the
So,
rent-to-own. Go ahead.
would that align with your long-term goals in real estate then?
As
The
far as the rent-to-own, do you like
Yeah, the
foresee
rent-to-own
myself
strategy.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll definitely apply that. It just depends on it's a numbers game. So if it would make sense for me to do a rent to own compared to renting out to tenants, yeah, that's definitely something I want to do. I'm just right now I'm educating myself and figuring out what I need to put in the clause contract, all that fun stuff. And you also got to watch too with the rent to own. You might have to own the house outright because if you look in your mortgage clause, there's something in there that will probably state, you can't uh, how should I word it? You can't really like lease it out to somebody like that as a rent to own. You just got to dive into your mortgage contract and see what it says in there.
Now, what is your mortgage with? Because I know you do have a 5-year balloon on this contract, right? So what was the financing kind of like with this particular property?
Yeah, so 5-year balloon. I swiped this house up for 22,000 and a little higher interest rate because it was a 5-year balloon. I think I'm sitting at like a 5.1. I went through a small credit union, a different lender than the one I got on my duplex. But yeah, 5-year balloon. And after that 5 years up, I'll have a lump sum that needs to be paid full. If I don't make that payment, then we can renegotiate back into another 5-year balloon. And with that 5-year balloon, I think I'm sitting on 15-year amortization for that.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And was that relatively, being that it was your second deal and you being so young, was there some apprehension by the bank to finance you, or was that pretty easy process?
Honestly, it was a lot easier process than the first one, going through different lenders. This one, they really helped me a lot. I really made a good connection with the vice president of that bank as well as his helper assistant. And yeah, it was just a smooth process going through that. They kind of gave me a few different options, and I thought the 5-year balloon made the most sense. Another thing I want to touch on this property that I don't want to forget is flood insurance. I don't know if you guys kind of dealt with that yet, but unfortunately, this property holds flood insurance, and I recommend to somebody, really dive into that and make sure that your house is not in a floodplain. The first quote I got through my insurance guy was $3,000 a year for flood insurance, and it just
Wow.
blew my mind. But we kind of negotiated and changed around a few terms, and I got that down to about $822 a year. But still, I mean, that's cutting into cash flow right there. So my goal is to get that paid off in that 5-year balloon. That's my goal, so I can own it outright, and then I don't have to carry that flood insurance. It's only required through the bank.
So a couple episodes ago, we had my broker on, and he house hacked through college, and he bought a place that he didn't know was in flood insurance. And he went from having a positive $300 to $400 of cash flow to a negative $100 in cash flow because of flood insurance. It was so expensive out there.
Do you know, is he still holding that property, or did he sell it off?
He is still holding that property. He's in the middle of selling it, but it's tough sell because of flood insurance. And he had no idea when he was buying it, because he was 18 years old or 19 years old when he bought it,
Yeah, you learn from your mistakes, and that's why I wanted to touch on the podcast about the flood insurance. That way, so young investors, even seasoned investors, if they haven't seen the flood insurance policy yet, it's definitely something you want to stay away from, because it can really cut into your cash flow.
That's a great point. Now, I know you mentioned that you're looking at a 7-unit. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'll try to give you as much information as possible. I actually just came across this deal a week ago. My partner sent it over to me, and I was like, hey, I actually think I know the guy that owns it. And funny story is, I drive an hour to work to my construction site, and I used to pass the 7-plex every single day. And I'm just like, man, it would be nice to own that. Passing every morning, stop, kind of just walk around the place, looked it up on the tax assessment, kind of just trying to get some information. Lo and behold, the wholesaler that sold me my single family house is actually the guy that owns this. So it's nice that I know him personally. So he literally sent me over all his Excel sheets, what the tenants are paying, all their information, all that stuff. So right now, me and my partner are analyzing that deal, putting some numbers to it, and I think it's a go. I actually just got the purchase agreement sent over to me last night via email, and we're going to go through that, kind of mark it up on some information that we want to put in there, sign it, and get it back over to the seller. One thing with this one is we're kind of getting creative with this one. I just closed on 2 houses in 5 months, so I don't have capital. So we're really getting creative here. My partner, he's 23 years old as well. He's doing well for himself. Another guy you'd probably want to get on the podcast. I mean, he's 33 units in 3 years. I mean, it's crazy. He's doing well. But yeah, good partner to have. So we're kind of getting creative with this one. He's actually locked up a house that he's going to close on the 25th of this month. He's paying all cash for $45,000. He's going to own that one outright. And we're actually going to put up that home for collateral on the 7-unit for the down payment. So, we're getting creative on this one.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And is it, are all 7 units rented out, or?
Yep. They're fully occupied right now. I thought down in that area, you kind of see a lot of Section 8 people, and I mentioned that to him. I said, hey, do you have any Section 8 people in there? And he said, when I first bought the property, it was all Section 8. I kicked him out, and I don't deal with Section 8 whatsoever.
Cool. And is that going to be like a seller financing situation, or are you getting a commercial loan backed by the house, or how's that working out with the financing?
So we're still kind of working on that. Like I said, I wanted to get locked up in that purchase agreement because I'm in a competitive market. In there, it says subject to finance, subject to, inspection, all that stuff. So it's basically try to get locked up in this deal and figure out the financing later. I am in discussion with my bank right now, a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls. We're trying to figure out what we can get over to the underwriter for them to approve it.
That's awesome.
Very cool. So, we were going to ask you what your favorite real estate book is.
So, favorite real estate book, I'd probably go with My Nose is in Retire Early with Real Estate. It's a publishing by Bigger Pockets. I'm liking that one right now. Kind of explains, buying houses over time, trying to get away from that 9 to 5, your 9 to 5. So that's a nice one. The real estate books, I really haven't got too much into them. All my education in real estate's been through Bigger Pockets, a lot of podcasts, and a lot of YouTube videos.
That's awesome. Yeah, Chad Carson is one of my heroes. I've been in his mentoring class. I've talked to him personally many times. And that book is amazing. That's my favorite book as well.
Nice.
Now, combined with real estate books, what are your goals, altogether? I mean, you're working on this 7-unit, you're only 23 years old. Like, are you looking to get, primarily into commercial or a little bit of both, residential and commercial, or what does that look like going forward for you?
Only the future will tell. Like I said, I'm pretty young in this game. I never foresaw myself getting into the commercial industry, but it's definitely something in the future I do want to get into. As of right now, I want to stay in that residential, but if there's commercial properties that make sense, I definitely want to move forward on to that. In the future, though, later down the road, say 15, 20 years, when I have enough equity and cash, I really want to buy a pretty big commercial property and have all my tenants in one area. Whether that's in my market or 3 hours away, 5 hours away, and put management in place. But yeah, as far as long-term goals in the real estate industry, I want to foresee myself out of a 9 to 5 in 5 years. I kind of want to be in this industry by the age of 28, if not 30. Entrepreneur, I mean, I want to be my own boss. I want to make my own hours and all that. I love what I do in the construction industry. It's really helping me with real estate, but I want to be my own boss and set my own time, be financially free and time free.
That's amazing, man. And I know you'll be there just based on your story the last couple of years, really last 5 months, it sounds like. I mean, you've done some amazing things. Sounds like you got a great partner. And for sure, looks like you're dabbling your feet in commercial already with this 7-unit. And like you said, only time will tell.
Exactly.
So, what advice would you give to anyone who wants to start out house hacking that's roughly around your age?
Don't be nervous. I mean, I was a little nervous, but I knew my goals. I'm very goal oriented. But yeah, getting started, it's definitely nerve wracking, but it's just something you got to get into. Get your feet wet, and then you'll see from there. House hacking. If you're going to get in this game, I strongly suggest house hacking. You get to learn how to, deal with your tenants, collecting paychecks, all that stuff. Repairs. A lot of people that I've been going to this real estate meetup, a lot of new people there. They're like, I don't want to deal with tenants. I don't want to deal with the maintenance. I strongly suggest doing that at an early age, because if you just turn it over to a management company, how do you know you're getting your money's worth? If you do, how should I say this? If you start out by managing the property yourself, you get so much education through that. Whereas if you hand it over to a management company, you don't get to see that. So you know where the money is coming from. You can check on your property yourself, do the maintenance, learn from it. But if there's some things you don't feel comfortable doing, whether it's MEPs, your mechanical, electrical, or plumbing, hire that out to somebody that knows how to do it. But I highly suggest, early in the game, managing the properties yourself so you can get that exposure and kind of learn from everything.
I totally agree. And the cool thing about house hacking is it doesn't take a lot of risk because you're already living there. You got to live somewhere. You got to make a payment somewhere. And like you said, you really learn on the job. I mean, I've learned how inadequate I am at sometimes at management, which is why at some point I'm going to take on management. But you learn just so much. You learn how to interact with people. You learn so much about the negotiations, about the contracts, about people trying to manipulate you, and then you get to really evaluate numbers right up front when you're young.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, house hacking is the way to go, man. You get to live for free. Early in this game, you really got to keep your expenses low. And if you don't have to pay for rent and somebody else is paying it for you, boom, you're saving $600, $800, $1,000 a month that you can reinvest to the next property.
Exactly. It's amazing. So we talked a little bit about your real estate book, and you said you don't read too much, but do you have any business or mindset books that you maybe in college or whatever that really inspired you?
Yeah, I'm a huge business and motivational book guy. Real estate books, I just really haven't dove too deep into them. Like I said, I get all my education through podcasts, YouTube videos, all that. But for a business or mindset book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Eckert, amazing book, man. I love that. It really got my mindset right. I strongly suggest that book. That's my number one right now.
That's awesome. And what is that, just for someone wondering, what is that mindset right for you? Because obviously you got an incredible mindset. You're only 23 years old. Like what was it from that book maybe, or what is it in life that you could share with somebody else about mindset?
I mean, basically there's a lot of things in there that he says, like at the end of the book, kind of recaps everything and kind of just states like, hey, say this, affirm this to yourself, say, I have the millionaire mindset. I will make $1,000,000. Like he just kind of makes you affirm stuff. And every chapter is different and kind of really get your mindset right. There's just a lot of different things he talks about within there. I wish I could recap it, but I read that book probably 2 years ago. I definitely need to dive back into it, but that book definitely helped me out mindset wise.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So we really appreciate you coming on here today. We got one last question for you. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that want to follow a little bit more about your story, ask you some questions. Where can someone find out more about you and maybe learn a little bit about your story?
Yeah, real estate wise, I really don't post too much on social media. You can find me on Facebook, but if you really want to dive into my stories and stuff, you can find me on Bigger Pockets at Shaye Mora, Shaye, last name Mora, Mora. Basically, that's my social media for real estate. I post all my deals on there and kind of have all the numbers and breakdown there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know I learned a lot from your little profile there about what you've done. You've got an incredible story. Drew, you got any more questions?
No more questions. That was great, Shaye. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. First podcast, and hopefully I can get some more under my feet. So, I said, I appreciate it, and hopefully young investors or even seasoned investors can kind of pick up on a few tips that I shared with everybody today.
Yeah, you definitely dropped a lot. We really appreciate it, and we're definitely inspired by your story. It's very similar to my story, starting out so young, and you're doing incredible. Good luck with this 7 unit. I'm sure you guys will get that thing closed, and it'll be a great deal for you.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time, guys, and we'll be in touch soon.
All right, man. All right, have a great day.
All right.
Yeah, you as well. See ya.